we have moved so fast that we are forgetting what we are, who we are. The food we're eating is making us think differently, is making us do things differently. In fact, we are not thinking much, there isn't much thinking because everything is fast.
Greetings, seekers of ancient wisdom. We are here joined by Nontlantla, a specialized traditional plant chef. So, Nontlantla, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Thank you so much. I am doing very well. I'm tired. I'm always tired, but I'm good. Yeah, thank you. My name is Nontlantla. Masichaba Murenyane. I'll explain more about the other name that I didn't tell you. But yes, yeah, I guess I am known as the plant-based chef, and I am a traditional healer as well, a healer. Let me not say traditional, but I am a healer. I am a mother. I am a sister, and yeah, I am a community person. I am deeply my work is also deeply involved with community. I also am a teacher. I'm a listener as well, and yeah, that is it gets more complicated introducing myself as my life, as things just happen, and my life is I walk closer to myself and I'm like, oh my gosh, the last time I was this person and now I am this person. But I love it. So yes, but everyone in the streets know me as Chef Noni. That is the name I got in there because I do the chefing story. Yeah.
So, Chef Noni, when you were explaining all the different hats you were wearing, it sounds so similar to me in some ways because I'm also a healer. I use natural medicine, frequency medicine, rife machines to heal. I also teach, I guess, because I'm doing this podcasting thing and getting guests on the show to talk about, all these amazing ancient wisdom that we can use in the present day. I'm also a father, also a brother. I'm also a businessman. I'm also running events. It's so difficult to wear so many hats and have so many people like looking up to you, right? You're carrying a lot of responsibility on your shoulders. And like you said, you're tired. You're always tired. And when you said that, I was actually thinking, you know what? I'm also always tired because I'm running after kids and I'm making medicine and I'm doing podcasting and I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and I'm it's such a tricky time to be alive, right? We have so much responsibilities. So, this is the question I want to ask. With all these things we have to do as a functioning adult in the modern day, eating good food is so challenging in today's times. You go to the supermarket, there's probably not a single thing in a supermarket that doesn't have some chemical that's poisonous or some toxin in it. Even the vegetables, right? They're full of glyphosate and um, other toxins. They use artificial fertilizer, herbicides, pesticides, blah, blah, blah. So, eating a good diet is like the least priority for people today. We're just trying to get through our day. We're just trying to get to work, feed the kids, get them to school. And now I have to worry about food. Like the food that I eat is not good anymore. So what's practical? How do we change and practically do this given our complicated lifestyles?
Mm, mm, mm. So You had me at ancient wisdom, first of all. When you mentioned ancient wisdom, I'm like, yay, my gang. um, so um, I'd like to also just, mention just how old I am. I am in this particular life right now. I am 40 years old, but I am so old. There is a spirit that I carry that is super old. Um, and I think it's the one that becomes even more vibrant and more alive, in my everyday life. And now it just brings up, and everyone's like, oh, what are you on about? And I'm really celebrating that. But also, it is such a difficult sort of blanket to wear, or carrying such very, very, very old stories inside of me. It is such a difficult blanket to wear in the modern, in this modern setup that we're in, because you always adjust and tune yourself and say, okay, let's relax a little bit, and let's flow with the current flow. It's really, really a difficult story. And someone who would sit with me, they would go, "Are you sure you're 40 years old?" And I say, "Yeah, well, in this time, yeah, I am, but where I come from, sheesh." I come from very, very far away places. Some are probably in the future, or in a very far away past life. But yeah, and really having to balance my life right now it gets really tricky, because everyone is wanting to move. Modernity has got us in the grips, and you want to move with the times. You want to have the air fryer, you want to have the microwave, you want to have the convenience stuff, you want to have packaged stuff, pop in the microwave, done. you know um and it's one of those things that really disturb my spirit a lot. And I, not that I don't do those things. Okay, yes, I don't do microwave food. I would really rather just do a quick meal. But we have moved so fast that we are forgetting what we are, who we are, and what role are we playing in this, in this whole setup here. The food we're eating is making us think differently, is making us do things differently. In fact, we are not thinking much. There isn't much thinking, because everything is fast. um, the food we're eating is a quick, and it has so much already, and it doesn't contain anything that comes from you, because remember, the nourishment is meant to also hold so much of you, or from someone that having your mom cook at home, or having your wife cook at home, or having your husband cook at home, and you're watching them cook. You can feel the energy is there is a whole there is a whole uh, uh, um, um, there is a space that's been created that is so sacred around making that food. And then when you finally eat it, you're like, oof, yeah, it makes you feel differently, as opposed to the meal that comes from uh, the delivery guys. It has so many hands that don't know you. It has souls that don't know who you are and how you need to be nourished, because we're all special. And that's why we are given our special people. You were given your mom, you were given your dad, you're given your grandmother, because then I know that this life knew that these are the people who will nourish you better. These are the people who will have you, who will know what to do, so your soul can be nourished, so your body can be nourished, so that the connection between mind, body, and spirit is pure, is clean, and you're thinking straight. Right now, we're not thinking straight, and it's because of the food we're eating. I was raised by my great grandmother. I come from the Eastern Cape. I was Yes, I was actually the only great grandchild she raised. She had grandchildren, and I was her only great grandkid. And uh, what a precious life that was, or that is. She taught me a lot. This was with very little that we had. And with the very little we had, that means there was a relationship we had to build. You know, we had to also maybe acquaint ourselves or remind or remember with the land. And which is why my work right now has spread out to the land love language. So if you are in my spaces, this is what you will hear, Imandulo, which and a tagline saying the land love language. Now, the land love language is what I was raised by. This is where you really spoke to the land without having much of a conversation, you know, physically, but you felt the land and you knew what was growing from the land, and you gave thanks and you asked, and you did not just ask for a full belly, but you asked for nourishment, you asked for healing. And I came from those hands of my great grandmother. She was a pediatrician, a traditional pediatrician, a midwife, a healer. So she birthed most of the babies, treated the babies after birth with herbs that she would take me along when she goes digging. You know, I was really little, 7, 8, 6, 7, 8 years old, but I still remember them. You know, and it is, it's so crazy that I when I went back home to the village after many years, and I could remember, and I said, "Oh, I know this." Because my great grandmother used to either stuff it in my ear, or when I had an earache, or she would create a suppository, or from this, you know, all of that is coming back. And I know that the biggest memory or the biggest keeper of memory is the food that we're eating. There is so much life, there is so much activity happening in the foods that we're eating. And you have to be really particular with the food you're putting in your body so that you are receiving the right energy, the right story, the right memories as well. Um, Actually, I have some of these amazing grains right here. I don't know if I could just take the camera and show you. When I say there is so much energy going on in our food, and how have we forgotten that? And we only remember that when we're hungry, when you're about to pass out, that there is life in the food, and it is life that we need to put in our body. But what kind of life is it really? You know, what kind of life are we putting in our bodies? So I am an indigenous food specialist, or an indigenous with knowledge systems keeper around food systems, around land, and yeah, and everything else that has to do with land and food and water, and you know. And I have really then been asked or tasked with something super super heavy and very difficult, because the food then started speaking and saying, so now that you know how to create all these magical dishes, right? And we see that you know what you're doing, and it is working. You know, people are eating the food, and there is something that happens to them when they eat the food. You know, it is not, sometimes it's not really just what's on the plate, but it is the energy that you're putting in the food. You understand the spells that go with the food. And as this food is speaking, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can literally hear that this particular grain wants me to cook it in a certain way, or this bean wants to be prepared in a certain way. And as you listen deeper, you're like, but then why have we looked so far away to say, oh, our ancestors are human beings, and they come in, you know, they come in female and male form, and they look like me. And And I realized that actually, no, the ancestors are in every single thing, in everything that we interact with every day. They are in the grains. The grains are the ancestors, and they're so alive. And there is a love language that they are speaking and wanting us to reacquaint or fix the relationship that we have, because our relationship is gone so bad. Like there's like a proper divorce coming through if we're not about to fix this relationship that we have with food. you know we when someone is introducing a traditional dish that comes from their home, you always look down on it and say, "Oh, no, I don't think I can eat that." But being when someone says to me, "Here we go, here is a curry made from fenugreek greens. I think it's called methi or methi bhaji, you know um sit with it. It comes from there and there." we I love embracing that. I want to hear that story. And we as African people are so afraid right now to serve a plate that has our story. We're so afraid, even when we know the truth about our food, the colonization of our food, the colonization of the land, of like our bodies were colonized, our minds are colonized, the food, the land, the water, everything was colonized. And now we sit with this knowledge and we are not wanting to fix and say, but what did we eat before the interruption? What were we before we were interrupted? What did our plate look like before we were interrupted? We are happy to see a plate that has pasta, bread, and all the other things that your body does not know, you know? But because it became part of your story and you were forced to, now how about we fight and say, who, who was I? What did I eat before all of this? So these are the stories that I bring to the plate. And sometimes people look at it and they go, no, I don't wanna, because we've already programmed the mind to tell us really what looks good, because it looks good, you think it is good for you. And it has all these fancy things, as a chef, chefs create things. Oh my gosh, chefs will create things on the plate, and you're like, yes, I'm gonna eat that. But what are you really eating? What are you really eating? Do you know the food? Does the food know you? You know, this is an intimate moment where you're meeting, you're putting something in your body and you don't even know where it came from or who cooked it or how it got to you, how many hands held it, where it was grown, how far it took to get to you. How have we forgotten that story? So I come from a place where the food was right around me. That means I could go pick the amaranth greens, mallow, goosefoot, all these greens and create a meal right here. And I remembered now, as the food is this food story is getting deeper, that I need to ask now. I need to give thanks as well, to say thank you for growing, thank you for coming back each year with the rains, when the rains fall. Thank you for thinking that I need you. Thank you for reminding me that we need each other. And what do we put back in the land? So now as consumers, we've become such consumers. Oh my gosh. Especially because everything is on the shelf now. What are you giving back to the land? Are you giving money back to the land? The money that you have that is so much in your pocket. Are you giving it back to the land? Or are you putting it in somebody's drawer, in somebody's bank account? You're taking so much from the land. What are you giving back? That is the land love language that we've forgotten. I'm going to take a deep breath and allow you to ask the question, because I can continue for hours.
No, I can see that. I can see that. Thank you. Yeah, I can see that you've got so much of a deep story, but there's so many relations that I also see as you were talking. So my background, and I've said this in many podcasts, but just to give you my background. So for about 20 years, I spent working in corporate, and I was working in insurance, and I did a solar business for many years. So about 20 years, I was in corporate, eating junk food, eating completely oblivious to what was good food. But a change happened around 2018 or so. I decided for spiritual growth and evolution, I decided to cut out all processed food. So I cut out coffee, sugar, alcohol, gluten, dairy, and I did quite a big shift. It took me about 2 years to find a good diet. So for 2 years, I was like eating crap vegan food. I became vegan as well. But I found a really, really good diet, and I saw my health just transform. My energy levels transformed. I think just my thought patterns would have also changed. And through that, I ended up leaving my corporate to start a healing practice where I do energy medicine, homeopathy, all these type of things. So it was a shift in the food, in my diet, maybe amongst many things, with the yoga and the meditation and my spiritual studies and the change in the diet, eating wholesome, natural, unprocessed food, lots of dark green vegetables, nutrient dense, rich. That basically made me remember again. I remembered, like, oh, this is why I came here to Earth. This is why I'm actually here. I came to heal, to teach people how you can live in alignment with the earth and your body just by going back to the earth, going back to eating whole food. And you were talking about that. And I was like, wow, that's actually sort of how I stumbled into this. The food was a really, really big part. So, all the clients that come to me, I've got a machine that I use to scan them. And in like 1 or 2 minutes, I can see everything that's going on inside their body: liver, kidneys, blood, heart, minerals, a whole bunch of things. And you can you can immediately see the people who are eating good diets versus bad diets. I mean, you can see it in their liver. You can see it in their blood. How much gunk is in their blood. You can see it in their kidneys. If they're alcoholics, the kidneys are fraught. They're completely drained. So that's the first thing I tell a client is like, okay, what are you eating? And this is what you need to shift towards. You need to start eating whole foods, raw foods, get away from processed stuff. And then I give them some medicines just to help them along the way, right? Um, and I see a huge transformation. People are transforming. People who have got like serious health issues, just in a few months, like 6 months, they transform, like become, I don't know, like new versions, upgraded. It's so amazing. So, I can also go on for a long time, but I want to hear your story. So, the one thing that stood out for me, and I want to tackle this further. You said you're a custodian of old knowledge. You're a custodian holding this information because you're going to carry it to your children, to other people who are hearing your story, so that they can carry it. So our earth will at least remember this. Because if you look at the TVs, newspapers, information out there, they're trying to completely wipe out all this old information. They want you eating the calories. They want you fighting about, I don't know, irrelevant stuff, sugars or honey, and misdirection. So, the custodian, how did you become a custodian of this information, and what does it actually mean?
Mm. That's a really, really potent question. So, I I am birthed by healers. I am birthed. My mom, of course, my mom, who's recently transitioned, um, was born a healer, but never really did follow the path. Um, my grandmother, who birthed my mom, is a healer. My great grandmother, who birthed my grandmother, is a healer. my great grandfather is a healer. So I come from a very long line of custodians, or carriers of spirit, carriers of of memory, and wow. So I think my people already knew, my great grandmother knew about me at birth. There are signs when a child that will carry this particular blood or a particular sort of DNA or a particular memory, or a, you know, they get to see that at birth. And I think, as my mom was telling me, they told me about my birth, and I'm like, oh wow, that was crazy. But yeah, what an entrance I made into this world. And I think my great grandmother, from then, I was raised by her immediately after my mom gave birth. She took over, and I was a child who was not I wasn't with my mom. I think I only met her 9 years later in my life. But I was meant to be groomed by my great grandmother, with her ways as well. She did her thing. And I think when I first sort of gathered that actually there's something a little weird about me, and something a little different about me. I feel things, I see things, I dream of things. I, I was taken away from her for a very long time. And all of this started brewing up inside of me. I was far from. So I had a very difficult, very, very difficult upbringing. I don't like calling it difficult anymore because I'm really grateful for it. But I had a very special upbringing. It was uniquely designed for me to be one with everything, to be one with the spirit of this, of our land, to the spirit of this planet of ours. And yeah, the sad bit is the part where all the healers in my home died. The one that is remaining is, of course, my grandmother, but who is old and she has dementia. And also, yeah, so there wasn't much guidance around my path as a healer. There wasn't anyone saying, okay, this is what you need to do, but everything else was fighting against me. I had, well, it's still happening, you know, and I really, I admire my courage. I admire the strength, that I had to build myself and to hold myself. In a certain way, and to realize that actually there is something really quite potent. I found myself working also in a pharmaceutical industry. um, yeah. Dispensing drugs, dispensing Western medicine that, of course, I knew was not okay for people to take. And I remember someone saying to me, there's a reason why you're here. Uh, she was a healer at the hospital I worked at, and then I was like, oh, okay, I don't know what you're talking about, but anyway, um, she said, no, but you will find out why you're here. And I I kept finding out, why I was taken into that world. I really was a big part of that world, but what really stood out, or what stuck out for me, was the part where I literally would tell people, don't take that. I know what you can take, something that is natural, and I know what you can eat to fight what you're going through. And yeah, it became quite a thing. um, I was then taken out of work in 2019. And everything I am said, it is now time to leave this world that you're in. I literally had a seizure at work, and I felt, and they took me to the clinic there, and I felt the bed literally going upside down, and I was holding on to the bed, and I said, please, the bed is going upside down, hold me. And everyone's like, we don't know what you're talking about, but you were calling the ambulance because a lot was happening to me. And now that I thought about this a few weeks ago, I said, actually, when I was telling someone the story, I said, that is when my world flipped upside down. I had to leave the other world. I had to walk into my world. And of course, that was the end of me being in that space. And I quit my job. Even after many people said you're not going to make it, you're going through a lot, you have to take tablets, you have to be on antidepressants, antipsychotics, because depression and all of that. And I said, I know exactly what's going on with me. I've always known, and I think right now I am ready for it. As scary as it was, I accepted my calling as a healer, and food was the thing that really spoke so loud. And when the food came, I didn't realize that also the food wanted me to go deeper and speak the land language, so that I can understand what land is going through, and also bring about, or remind people about the memory of us being land, the bodies being the land, human bodies being land, our physical body is the land, and how we should be treating it. And what we put in the land, this land, we should be putting in that land as well, the land that is holding us. Um, so I went into initiation out of fear. I wanted to be held by someone else. Of course, I wasn't sure what to do, even when everything was saying, but you are most capable of initiating yourself, because no one holds what you hold. Everyone has been gifted uniquely and differently, and you have to trust. But I wasn't ready to trust myself at that point. I think this was 2021. um, um, of course, things were really, really terrible. COVID, quitting my job, and now I'm having to find myself in the food space. But what am I doing in the food space? I am working with communities. I'm cooking for communities, and I'm advocating for healthier foods. People who couldn't afford meals or afford food during the time. Um, and gosh, going into initiation, I then really, really slapped myself so hard. I'm like, oh, come now. I knew this, I knew that this was not the way to do it, but the Spirit said we needed you to go and see. We needed you to see what the other world looks like, so that you can fight against that. And your fight is going to be a positive one. It's going to be a healing one, because you have these great spirits that want to walk with you, these grains, these herbs, that all this medicine that is growing around us. There is there is a language that is coming through, that is forming, and we need you to carry that language. So, of course, that was really, it is still difficult. I went through a couple of tests, to know if I know how to speak the language. But yes, yes, please say something.
So the whole story of you working in a pharmacy is like, again, it is see so many parallels in my life. So the first job that I got when I left varsity was into the medical scheme industry. I worked for one of the biggest medical schemes in the country, and I spent almost 7 years working in medical schemes. And one interesting thing, I never knew this, right? I mean, as we grow up, go the schooling system keeps us so naive. They don't really actually teach us anything except how to do some maths and be a slave. They don't really teach you how to think. But anyway, when I got to this medical scheme, I saw that one of the big departments in the company was chronic medicine management. They called it prescribed minimum benefits. There was like 28 or 29 chronic conditions that all medical schemes had to cover. They had to cover it by law. It was like hypertension, diabetes. I don't know. There's like 29 or 27 or whatever it is of them. And there was a whole department managing the people that were taking chronic medications. So anyway, I get to this medical industry and I hear chronic medication. I'm like, oh, okay, what does chronic mean? And I find out that means that you're going to take this medicine for the rest of your life. So I'm like, okay, why can't they cure the illness? I mean, why can't you just cure the illness? No, no, no. Illness cannot be cured. That's why this person has to take diabetes pills or insulin or blood sugar or whatever it is. They have to take it for the rest of their life. That's what chronic means. And then I was so perplexed. But anyway, I was just a kid, just working, just trying to make money so I could party on the weekends. You don't pay much attention to this. But this was the system, right? This is the system that has been created that they convince people if you have an illness, one of these illnesses, you're taking medicine for life. Otherwise, you're going to die. Those are the only two options. Heavens be no, like whatever, 20 years later, I realize no, you just have to eat good food, nutrient dense food, eat a balanced diet, exercise, eat, have clean water, eat lots of fruits, and you'll probably cure 90% of illnesses out there. And if you want, there's energy medicine and plant medicine and other herbs and tinctures, light therapy, reflexology, acupuncture, kinesiology. There's an entire world of very effective ways of treating people without the side effects. And guess what? You don't have to take it for your whole life. You take it for a short term, get you back to balance, and then you're sorted. There's no chronic anything in the alternate health space, right? There's no chronic. It's not like, hey, you have to take this pill forever. No, you just have to eat good food forever, right? That's,
You just have to eat the food for the rest of your life. you know, that's it. That's it. You just have to eat the food for the rest of your life. Um, one thing you know, very tricky question I asked people, and I said, when you walk into a supermarket and you say, "Can I please have medicine?" What do you think they're gonna tell you? Are they gonna say to you, "Walk right in and go and have all the medicine you want"? Or are they gonna tell you, "Oh no, 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 we don't sell medicine here. You're in the wrong, you're in the wrong department," you know? And yeah, so if or you're in the wrong space, if they say that to you, like seriously, just test this whole. Just go walk into a supermarket, and say, "Can I'm here to buy medicine?" Just seriously, just ask someone, the manager or the cashier, and say, "I'm here to buy medicine." They will literally point you to the pharmacy. This is how we know the world we're in is wrong. This is how I know the world that we're in is falling, and it is breaking. It is crumbling. Because if you're asking for medicine, then if food is not the medicine, then what are you there to buy if they're going to tell you in the wrong space? And one other thing that also has been so sitting very heavy with me as an indigenous food indigenous food advocate is that our food, as the indigenous people of this continent, our food is packaged wrong. It is sitting in the wrong places. It is sitting in filthy spaces. It is sitting. Have you been to the traditional markets? Have you been to the African markets? It smells bad. It looks bad. It's scary. You get mugged when you go there. And yet, when you go and buy the food that is actually killing us, the processed food, super processed foods, and all these foods that are just there to contribute to your chronic diseases, are sitting so beautifully packaged on the shelf, and someone dusts that shelf on a regular basis, and they are sitting in these fancy shiny buildings, and there's a security guard, you get checked, and the floors are clean every day, and yet these foods give you Nothing. Now we need to think about that, especially because we are trying to find ourselves. We're trying to not find ourselves, but we're trying to remember ourselves, put ourselves together again. And putting ourselves back together again means that we're going to be now putting the right kind of medicine, the right kind of food into our bodies, because then that evokes the memory that goes and it enlivens the DNA inside of us, so that when we speak, you're speaking a language that many people have forgotten, and it sparks up such a memory in them, and they go, actually, I know that. I remember that. And that is the magic of the food. And that is the magic of eating the right kind of food. And when you were, so I just came back from the Eastern Cape. I think I told you I was traveling. I have a retreat coming through this next week on the 19th. This is the Land Love Language Retreat, where it's a deep immersive sort of setup, and people are really meeting the land. We are remembering the relationship between us and the land. So I go home and I tell them that, oh no, this is what I'm cooking, and they were looking at my food and they're saying, but where is the pap, where's the samp, where is the traditional stuff, where's the I said, there's nothing traditional about what you just mentioned. Maize is not from here. Yes, I'm not going to. Maize is potent and it is powerful, and where it grows, where it comes from, it is the shining star of that land. It is the God of that land. The God or the gods of our land are these here. And we have forgotten that, and they're like, no, you can eat it. We won't, we'll just eat what we normally eat, so that really is such a painful thing to watch and to hear, and trying to also fill a cup that's already full, and trying to also find these empty cups to say, let me tell you a story about our food, is such a difficult thing to do. It is the most difficult thing, that the people that come to sit here where I'm sitting to come and hear these stories are people that don't come from my land. These are people who come from faraway lands to come and hear the stories of our food, the stories of our people, of our land, the memories of our food. And our people are nowhere near. My people don't want to hear about it. And that is really, really, that is the challenge, of course. That is the challenge, and that is what I am going through, and that is so painful. But I'm not giving up on that. As hard as it is, I'm still holding the baton. I'm holding it, and I'm going.
Yes, and I think that's why you're teaching and doing these retreats and also teaching a lot of cooking, teaching people about the different foods, going back to our roots. So I wanted to unpack something you said earlier about us being the earth. And this is something I sort of started thinking about over the last few years. Like anything that we eat, if we're eating raw foods, it's grown in the earth, right? So you take a seed, you put it in the ground, you water it, sunshine, good soil, nutrients in the soil. Somehow that seed, that little grain, that seed has the intelligence to pull nutrients from the soil. It pulls magnesium, phosphorus, copper, and it builds, I don't know, a trunk, a stalk, a stem, and it takes nutrients and it builds a leaf and pulls nutrients and water and the sunlight, and it changes the earth into a fruit. So basically, this little seed has turned soil using water and sunlight and energy. It's turned soil into a fruit. At the end of the day, we're just eating earth. We're eating soil, right? If we're eating a fruit or a vegetable or anything, you're eating soil. It's just that the seed transformed that soil into something that tastes good, that you can eat. That's how we are the earth, right? You're eating earth at the end of the day. You're eating soil, you're eating dirt. It's just somehow been restructured. But that's how we remember, isn't it?
And the part where it's called dirt, you know. um and language is, the English language also will lose us because you're eating umhlaba is the earth, so there isn't another word for ukungola. I mean, dirt is ukungola, that means dirty, and we don't associate it with earth. So of course, now if someone is, when someone says, "Oh, you're eating dirt," you literally, in your mind, you're translating that into something that is filthy, something that is ganti. You're eating life. You're eating life. And when you find soil in this, of course, I mean, I cook with the grains. I have teff. Teff is like the tiniest grain in the entire world. So you'll find like a grain of sand here and there, and you tell people, listen, if you find a grain of sand, chew on, keep on chewing and swallow. It is nothing foreign in your body. You are the soil. You are the sand. You are the land. So all of these things that we need to start changing our language. We need to start speaking the land love language, where you know exactly what's going on with your soil at home, and the soil knows what's going on with your land, with your soil, this year soil, and there'll be, as you spoke it, the seed has the ability to go and create, it creates something that you would never even imagine. I mean, if you took the seed and you put it in the ground, what grows there will be something different. It will have different features and everything. It has this magic to go and create something so beautiful and so juicy and so nutritious and so healing. Like, then what is wrong with us? What's our story? you know what's our story? The same thing when you are having a baby, or trying to have a baby. You have to get your body right. You have to make sure that the body is going to create a beautiful fruit, is going to bear good fruit. Because when you start speaking, or you are pregnant, or you are starting to teach, or you are somewhere, the energy just flows and glows with you, because people are like, okay, she must be eating something different, but when you are not eating the right food, you can see it, that, okay, yeah, it's not working out here. We don't know what you're saying. You don't know what you're saying. You don't know yourself, so really. And if I tell you the truth, that for me, that the biggest test is the food. The food will test my life to say, are you really for me? Are you here for me? Are we here for each other? And I'm really having to find myself in spaces where I'm really advocating for the spirituality in the food, or the rituals, advocating for the rituals around food, and everyone says, "But why are you bringing ritual into food?" And I said, because we removed it. I'm not bringing it. I'm just merely reminding us that food is a ritual. How we cook the food, how we grow the food, how we pick the food, harvest the food, how we cook the food, what we do when we eat the food, how the food is eaten, with your hands, or you're eating it together, or how you sit. It is a ritual. How you listen to all the flavors when you put that food in your mouth. That is a ritual. Having to go and plant, and when you're busy with the seeds, the sorghum, that is a whole ritual. It is a prayer. You are asking, and you are thanking, and you are speaking to the rains at the same time and saying, please come again. for the next season. And you're speaking to the soil to say, please live again, to give us more. You're speaking to the sun. You're speaking to this entire family that lives underground and above ground, that is making sure that the seeds are kept intact. The seeds are here. And, there is a whole system. There is an entire world that lives underground, that lives on the ground, that lives in the air. It is the wind. It is the sun. So all of this is these are the things that we forget to say when we are holding our food, to say thank you. Thank you to the rains that continue to fall. Thank you to the ocean that has not given up on us and still give us food, even when we shouldn't be eating from the ocean, because we go there to ask for life. And what life are we giving back? Our people will have a tendency of going to the water every time things are not going good. Like, oh, I need to go and cleanse. What are you bringing to the water? You're bringing your dirt to the water, and you expect the water to come and say, okay, I will clean you. And then the next day you're going to go and have the fish at the restaurant. And then what exactly must happen? We're going to go and sit there and say, oh, I will slaughter the cow for the ceremony because I feel there's so much that's going on in my family. We need to get rid of this, and we need to do this. We need to cleanse this, and we need to do that. So I'm going to go get the cow. Then you get the cow, and did you hear the cow say yes to you? You can take my life so you can cleanse yours? No. And then you're going to use the blood of the cow to come and cleanse your story. And then tomorrow you're going to go and order a rump steak. So who's seeing who here? Who's saving who here? And yet we are calling ourselves guardians, custodians of the land. You're going to go and throw all that waste, all that plastic, all that glass, everything on the land that you still expect to grow your food. The shelves have spoiled us so much in the supermarkets, is that they spoiled us that we think the food comes from that particular shelf because it's clean and it's dusted. And then when you walk outside, the land is riddled with so much filth. You eat and you just throw everything right there and you pollute the very earth that grows the food. How do you not know this? How do you not know that the earth is the one that is growing the food for you? It continues to grow this food even when we're not deserving. Even when we are not deserving. Human beings are not deserving. Because we spoil it for the animals too. We spoil it for the other spirits, for the other bodies that are non-human. Because as soon as you throw that thing into the ground, there is an entire life. There is a world underground, and all that is going to seep into that soil and the land. And what must happen? What must happen to the ones that live under there? The ones that make sure that your food is good. The ones that keep the soil intact. How have we forgotten this? How far have we gone that we forgot so much? It's not that we don't know. We know the story. Look at how much concrete we have on our earth. Look at how much the road, the tar, we're now just covering up the earth with so much. The earth is not breathing, and yet you want to breathe. Every day you're fighting for oxygen and you're cutting down the trees. My gosh, you don't even see the trees. And you want to live and breathe. And we want to be alive. How have we become such a people? How have we become, how alive are we? What is fueling us? What is feeding us? What has altered our memory, our DNA so bad that we think the things that we're doing are healing In fact, we're killing everything. What will happen when these cows run out? So much rituals are being done using cows and goats. What will happen? What's gonna happen when the day they're like, oh guys, we've exhausted all the goats in the world? What must happen then? You can't cleanse anymore, huh? You can't do your rituals anymore because there is no goat. And this is the reality. I'm speaking now because this is what's happening every day where I come from. Every day, somebody's slaughtering a cow because someone has passed away and some blood needs to be spilled. And they ask me, how do you know? And I say, when was the last time you listened? When was the last time you ate and you listened? When was the last time you walked the land and you listened? When was the last time you touched that goat and you heard something and you felt something? When was the last time you went to the water and the water spoke and said, no more, no more? Look at our oceans. If you go to KZN, you go to Durban, go to the beach, the sand is black. It's got oil. I didn't know it was oil. It is terrible. And then yet when things are so bad, we run to that very same water and say, oh, please cleanse my family. We need that and that and that. When you're about to faint and die, or you're so ready to run and say, oh, I need to eat something before I collapse. Have we heard ourselves? Have we heard ourselves? And those who are advocating for indigenous foods, those who are advocating for the land that grows the food, where are those who worked the land, the ones the land chose to work, to handle them? We don't do that anymore. Now, because it's so mass production, we have these big things that go to the land and go and just take and throw seeds. You know, they are not handled by hands anymore. The land does not feel our energy because the seed that is being just thrown is put into a machine and just goes into the land. Poof. And then they expect the rains to fall and they expect the soil to hold the seed.
So yeah, I mean, you were spewing such amazing truths there, right? I mean, it's such an irony. We treat the earth so badly with such disregard. We throw our waste there. We cut the trees. We pollute the oceans, the rivers, the air, everything. But we expect the earth to feed us. We run to the earth when we need trouble. We expect food and shelter from the earth. When it rains too much, we complain. When there's a flood, we complain. When there's a tsunami, we complain. But how are we treating this earth, right? I mean, it's like such an irony that you're pointing out that people have become so disconnected from the earth, like so disconnected from each other that they don't understand that their actions are actually hurting the earth, which is going to hurt themselves by your disregard, and the way you're treating nature in general is having a immediate, maybe that's the problem, it's not immediate enough, but it's going to have an immediate impact on you directly. But you asked the question, why have we forgotten? And I think you're right. It's because of the processed food. It's because of the programming that we see on television, the programming from schools, the programming in the whole system, the scientific institutions, government, politicians, the banking system, everything is designed to make us forget. They're doing such a huge effort to keep us trapped in this not thinking mindset, like zombies, not thinking. But you and I have woken up and we're not zombies anymore, and we're thinking and we're like, no, this doesn't make sense. We need to wake up the other asleep non thinking people who are just going through life, eating rubbish, and completely disconnected from Mother Earth. So we have. So much to talk about. I think me and you could probably have podcasts for for hours and hours on end, because we have so much and so much to share and so many common themes to explore. We could probably do this, for a long time. But just to conclude this talk today, the food you mentioned is such an amazing, powerful way to remember the earth. It's like the earth speaking to us again. Once you're eating good, whole, nutrient dense food grown in good soil, it's full of earth. It's full of earth spirit, right? It's full of earth prana and energy. And you eat that, and then that revitalizes your memory, and you remember again, like, oh, this is how it's a be. So it's truly amazing. So, how can people find out more about what you do and get in touch with you, find out about your workshops? Maybe give us a few of the details on how people can get in contact with you. And we are definitely going to talk again in the future.
Thank you so much for this. So I am based in Johannesburg, and I also host cooking classes. I am teaching classes as well. Really, it is really reacquainting ourselves, or reacquainting or remembering our food systems as the indigenous people of this continent as well, and remembering what it is that heals this continent, and trying to find and preserve that as well. I am also on the socials. May not be there all the time, but I am on the socials. I host dinners right here at home. People get to come and eat with my family. So you book in and you call and say, "Listen, we're coming to eat with you. Make us something special." And I always do that. And you're always going to find our people's food are the grains of the land, the ancestors of the land, which is sorghum, millet, teff, and many other ancients as well that have returned to our plates. So I am on Facebook as Nontlanhla Morwenyane. I'm also on Instagram as Zulu Star is Chef Noni. There's also organic conversations. There's also Plug Indigenous. And yeah, we host events right here in the garden as well. And now that we are waiting for we're in the new season now. We've planted quite a bit in the garden, and we are looking forward to harvest season, and we get to enjoy the bounty that comes from our great mother. And there is a whole ritual that is involved when you come to my home, when you get to eat with me, in every event I have. It's nothing short. It is definitely going to be a ritual, and it involves water, grains, and love, and gratitude, and really just reflecting and remembering that we are land, and that gosh, we are not. We mustn't say, "Oh, you love nature." Please don't say that. Oh, what is it about? We separate. We say it in a way that separates us from nature, but we are nature. And everything that is here is really just a path to remembering that we are nature. And yeah, I also do retreats. This is going to be my first retreat back to the land that gave birth to me, to the Eastern Cape, which is happening in about a week's time, or I think 2 weeks' time on the 19th. We are heading to the Eastern Cape. And if anybody still wants to join, I think we probably have 1 or 2 spots left. To get really deep and meet the land, from a different language, a different perspective, and try to just remember, and by feeling the land and being one with the land. And yeah, so that is it. That's it. That's thank you so much.
Noni, thank you for teaching us how to go back to the land. I love what you're doing. People, go and support Noni. Go check out her socials. Check out the retreat. It's coming in a few days, so maybe you can still get a spot. And go back to the land for yourself. Go back to the roots. Remember why you came to Earth. And if we are custodians of the planet, guardians of the planet, we sure as hell are not acting like it. So let's act, grow up, and look after this earth that is doing so much for us. Noni, we really, really appreciated this chat with you. Thank you so much for your time, and I really look forward to the next time. So,
Thank you so much. And I really look forward to seeing you and meeting you at some point again. I think we've met before, but definitely. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful evening.